Here we go. I clicked the live button.
Hey.
I clicked it. I don't know. It takes a second. We do this like every week, right? Every week. We're like, I think we're live. We're kind of live. Like,
you gotta check the group to see if it's live.
All right, we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Whiskey Thursday. We have an incredible guest with us tonight. Bao Lee is here. Bao, what's going on, man?
Good. Super stoked to be on here. Thank you for having me.
I know, right? It's going to be a good time. I think you have a really interesting story. I think you have a really cool story, and I can't wait to get into it. So we'll just give everybody a minute to get in here and get on the live. If you're watching right now, I'm sure you're noticing it looks a little different. We're down a player, right? So Shane just had his baby. Well, his wife or whatnot had his baby. And so he's, I think, still in the hospital there. But congratulations to Shane. So feel free to tag him and let him. And what's that?
Congrats to Shane.
Right? Yeah. Feel free to tag him and tell him when you miss him. And congrats. Like I said, he doesn't talk too much about it, but yeah, he's clearly not here, and that is why. So if you guys are watching live, hashtag live in the comments down below. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments down below. And if you're watching on YouTube, let us know what you think of the episode so far.
Shit, this is gonna be on YouTube. Holy crap.
We have YouTube in the house. They're filming tonight as well. No, I'm just kidding. Little office reference there. But yeah, so we're also on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, you should definitely check out the group in Facebook, Real Estate Marketing Conversion Mastery. Come join us and check it out. Anyways, Bao, man, how's it been going?
It's been going, dude. It's been absolutely nuts. It's been quite the journey as well, yeah.
It's a crazy time. When did you start your agency?
I started my agency probably a little over 2 years ago in 2018, just right at the start. Okay. And it started as a website design agency. Right around that time, I had made a career transition and became a software engineer, got a job at Dropbox, and was doing pretty well. After a while, I was like, all right, well, as a software engineer, I have a lot of skills and the skill set to be able to like build websites and stuff. And so I kind of like thought about doing that. When it started off as kind of like a freelancing gig. And so I started Baus Digital. That's why it's like, you know, like my business name isn't anything real estate related because it didn't start off that way. So my agency started off as a website design agency. And things were going well. I got some customers. I got local clients from local businesses. That was how I started prospecting, going to BNIs and stuff like that, because I could make impact and I could make changes and get like, you know, clients locally. So, you know, it was after a time where I started to realize, you know, it wasn't as sustainable as I thought it would be, or it wasn't the type of business model that I would have wanted it to be, right? Where,
what do you mean by that?
So in terms of when you generate the leads, or you get clients, right? You'll get clients for a website project, and it'll be like a big project that I have to do because I was a freelancer. I wasn't like a business owner or something like that. I was a freelancer. Right. And so when I get the project, I would work on it, right? That means that any sort of prospecting, marketing, advertising, anything that I had wanted to do or was doing, I wasn't doing because I was working on the project. And so as a result, it was very ebb and flow. You know, there was a feast and famine kind of thing when I was trying to get clients. I mean, it didn't matter too much to me because I was working at Dropbox at the time. So, I mean, I had the primary income. Yep. The agency was a secondary source of income. But so I didn't quite have that feast and famine mode, but I wasn't at the point where I wanted to kind of have that kind of business. I wanted something, you know, reliable, regular. And so that was when I decided to look into the realm of digital marketing, because to have a sort of retainer that made sense to couple with websites, I naturally deviated to like SEO, for example, right? SEO and websites typically go hand in hand. And so that was kind of where I was coming from with that. And so I could charge for websites, and then I could charge for retainers for SEO, right, and website maintenance and stuff like that. That was the door that opened me to digital marketing, right? Website and SEO. All of a sudden, I was like, all right, well, I can do website. I found someone for SEO. Why not add other things, right? So we looked into email marketing, review management, reputation management, social media marketing, and social media content management, like everything under the sun that had relevance to digital. I wanted to provide for it. I wanted to be that agency that was like, your all-in-one, one-stop shop kind of agency for everything digital marketing related, right? It was like, that was going to be my niche, helping local businesses, customizing everything. After a while, I was like, holy shit, dude, this is not scalable, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's funny how it's like my niche is going to be the one that I do everything. I think a lot of digital marketers, when they get started, like that's their mindset. Like, we're just going to provide the most amazing service. We're going to, point A to point Z, we're going to do everything in between. They will not have to go anywhere else. And then you just end up like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing right now?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like one of those things where after a while, when you're trying to fulfill on all these promises, you're like, well, crap, how do I do that? Right? Because
Yeah.
I'm a software engineer. I have like the web design background, right? And the SEO I outsource, but what about everything else that I just promised that I could do? Let's do reputation management. Let's do social media marketing, content management.
Yep.
Like who's going to be the one doing those? And so I went on a very long, painstaking search for really good contractors or really good freelancers on Upwork, right? And on Fiverr to try and find good talent to be able to fulfill on these. But, it was letdown after letdown with those kind of freelancers and some, like contractors that weren't within my budget kind of thing for the project. And so that made it really difficult. There was like next to zero margins and like on a new project, I'd have to find a new freelancer. And when we came across like a new element to that digital marketing that the client wanted and highly customized, I would have to try and find somebody else. It was almost like then having a recruiting agency as well as a digital marketing agency at that point, because I spent just as much time fulfilling as I did trying to find people to fulfill.
Right.
Right.
Well,
so it was,
yeah. So we got people jumping in. Gustavo, what's going on? Jesse, what's up? We got people that are showing up. They're like, you guys started way earlier than normal.
We were on time.
We say 8-ish for a reason. We don't know when it's going to happen. It just happens. All of a sudden the live is going and flowing and we're like, here we are. I think we're live. So anyways, if you guys are watching live, again, hashtag live down in the comments below. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay down in the comments below. And let us know tonight, because we're talking about a side hustle or side hustles. Let us know tonight, are you currently running your agency or your business, if you're a real estate agent, either or, as a side hustle or as a full-time gig? Let us know in the comments down below. So you're trying to like build this all-inclusive agency.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you're also becoming a recruiting company and like trying to fit all of this stuff together. Like, I mean, that had to be kind of a nightmare.
It was nuts. It was nuts. I was working 14, 15, 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Still kind of, but it's a lot less now. Just because I have removed myself from the agency a little bit. And I've taken on an additional kind of like freelancing project that's a little bit more for fun.
Okay.
To try and keep myself sane, especially during COVID, staying inside. Got to give myself something to do that's I find like mentally stimulating. So, working at Amazon during the day, running the business, and then doing a freelancing project where I'm building a web app within the cryptocurrency space.
Okay. Nice. So you've got a lot of stuff going on. And like you said, you still have a full-time job. So what do you do in your full-time job? What does that entail?
I am a software engineer at Amazon. And I build out one of their Amazon Web Services products. I'm primarily front end. So what that means is all the stuff that you see on websites and on the products, like anything that's customer facing, that's the stuff that I'm touching.
Okay.
So right now I'm working on a product that does a lot of threat intelligence and security for anybody who is using AWS products, right? They're website products like website hosting and
Okay.
image hosting and stuff like that. So we're using where the product that I'm working on protects those services and kind of raises any findings that are regards to, like suspicious use. There's a lot of cases where like hosting platforms, like EC2 products, that's one of the products. People will hack into those, like external third-party users or people will hack into those for other people and use their services to mine Bitcoin, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah. So it's those things that we protect against, right? So like, let's say you have somebody who is hosting a website on a server, right?
Yeah.
And
Is it Light Sail or something like that?
it's called EC2.
Okay.
And that's what they call it, right?
Okay.
So they call it like an EC2 instance. And if your keys, like the secret access keys, aren't protected as well, people can hack into it. And when people hack into it, they can take advantage of the resources that are allocated there. So basically, when people hack into it, they use that resources to mine Bitcoin. And mining Bitcoin and mining cryptocurrencies and stuff like that is a very intensive operation.
Yeah.
And so imagine that customer's bill skyrockets and they don't know why, right? So our product protects against that and reports that and things like that. So
it
it's
must
kind of like
be
very specific and very niche.
Yeah, it must be that if they were to just pay for the AWS, it would not be profitable to continue using that to mine Bitcoin, huh?
Yeah.
So they're just like, all right, we're just gonna go hack somebody else's, use that, and make a bunch of crypto money or something.
It's a free way for them to do it, is to hack other people, but it's very
a real
unethical.
problem? It's like
it's a real problem. It's a real problem.
Wow.
And mining Bitcoin isn't the only thing that people do, right? It's anything that requires like computing, like software computing and anything that needs that can flow into the same problem, can face the same problem, can be leveraged and taken advantage of in the same way, just like mining Bitcoin. So
makes sense. Shane just popped on to say hi.
Hey, Shane.
What's going on? Shane, congratulations on the new kiddo. He said, did you guys start early? What is this early? Eight-ish. It leaves a lot of time to get started. He's like, how are you guys live for 13 minutes already? What happened? Did you hit the button on accident? Oh, man. Anyways, so you're working on this project. That's your day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
How much time, how much effort are you having to put into that? Because it sounds kind of intensive.
It is. It's a full-time job. So I go at it for, 8 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours. It really depends on the workload for that day. Mm-hmm. After that, I'll shut off the laptop and I'll make a context switch over to, whatever I need to work on next.
Okay.
And I'm trying to, start also being a little bit more active because I'm taking so many projects. So I'm trying to add in like a little bit of workout in between like the two jobs, the two work things. But yeah, that's the context switch. As soon as I'm done with my day at Amazon, laptop shut, because I have a separate laptop for laptop shut, doing something to separate the two and then diving into either business or freelancing.
Wow. So not only are you doing that, but you have an agency, which I believe you said is over 25,000 a month in monthly recurring.
Yeah.
And is this the same agency you started in 2018, or have you kind of revamped, started over? What did that look like? Because you said you started out doing everything.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did that work out for you? Are you still doing everything? Did you restart?
No. So it's, oh my goodness, it's been such an evolution. Once I started realizing that trying to be that one-stop shop for a local business wasn't scalable to the extent that I would have wanted it to be, okay. I decided to niche down. right?
Right.
So I decided to niche down in paid ads after I got an advertisement for Dan Henry, right? So Dan Henry was my first introduction into paid ads.
Yep.
And so I started that. That was kind of like my introduction into paid ads. And I decided to focus on that because one of the main pain points that I had found with all of the other digital marketing aspects of fulfillment was it took a lot longer to generate results, especially with like things like SEO, email marketing to a certain extent. Like from start to finish, how long would it take for the business owners to get money in their pocket? SEO to find the results, it took anywhere from 4, 5, 6 months, and that wasn't like tangible enough for them to build that trust and want them to stay with me on longer, right? So I found that paid advertising was the quickest way to build that trust, because as long as you can set the expectations right, you can generate those leads, you can generate those customers, you can generate those paying customers, in a matter of days, weeks, if not hours, depending on the campaigns that you run, right? So that helped build the excitement, that helped build the trust with the business owners, and then I could downsell later on. So that was why I decided to go into paid advertising, right? So
yeah. And so where was that in this evolution as you were like growing? Like when did you make that shift? And did you start over? Did you get all your clients to move in that direction? Did you start in real estate? I mean, give us a little bit more of that timeline. I'm going to get the chat bot. We're blocked this week, so we're going to try it one more time and see if it works. But yeah, give us a little bit more of that timeline. What was
so I probably spent about 6 months to a year trying to do that whole one-stop shop fulfillment type thing before I transitioned into paid ads. I'd have to look it up to be exact, but like it was probably around a year when I decided to buy Dan Henry's course and specialize in paid ads. And so after doing that, and then doing paid ads for various niches, I did paid ads for gyms, I did paid ads for Kairos, anybody in my BNI that had some relevance to and could benefit from paid ads. We were trying to do beta testing for paid ads for. Right. So after a while, we hit on real estate, and then I started asking around the Dan Henry group. That was when I got introduced to Jeff Miller's group for paid ads. And then from there, I got a referral to you guys through Shane, Matt, the go-to guys for real estate. I was like, all right, well, let's take a look at it. And then, got a lot of value from your public group. And then you guys started the beta and I hopped on it instantly. It was a no-brainer at the time, especially. So that was stoked. Like that made me stoked, right? Because all of a sudden I had specialized niche knowledge, support, and like expertise that I could leverage to shift my business. And it was around that time, which was probably around 3 to 6 months later from when I decided to focus on just paid ads, that I decided to, again, focus down even further. So I fired a lot of my chiro clients, my gym clients. I had a freaking artist client at one point. It was weird.
An artist client,
a painter artist client. It was kind of crazy.
You're running Facebook ads for them.
Yeah. I was not directly to buy their stuff, but to run Facebook ads for their events, for like showcases.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So we were doing that. And then that was when, I had the resources, everything else. There wasn't a lot of resources for, like, there wasn't like what the equivalent of RemCM for Kairos or for gyms or something like that, at least at the time when I got on with you guys. And so that was when, because of that, that was a huge contributing factor to me doubling down on real estate. Okay. And so I've been probably exclusively real estate for about a year now, maybe a year and 3 months or so. And it's just further developed since then,
Have real estate clients prior to that you were working with, or is it brand new niche?
I had clients prior to that. So I had like 2 agents that I was working with And the evolution of how and the product and the services has evolved as well. Like as you kind of like delve into the niche too. So
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
So now here we are a year later. You have 25K in monthly recurring revenue or a little bit more. How many clients is that?
That's 10, I believe 10 to 12 clients right now.
10 to 12 clients.
So yeah, we're averaging anywhere from, depending on what kind of product they're coming in with,
Mm-hmm.
we're signing up for anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000
Okay.
monthly retainer. Yeah.
Gotcha. And did you start off like you used all your background on websites and SEO to get started, or like how did you start bringing these clients on?
It started off with BNI. Like I started off with BNI and referrals.
But B&I, you're only allowed one real estate agent?
Yeah, so that was because I was already in BNI before that, right?
Yep.
It was I'd signed up for like a 2-year membership, to get access to everybody. I literally only worked at that point with one member from the BNI. That was it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so after that, I signed up for some other groups and advertising platforms. Especially, there was an advertising platform called Real Producers. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it,
Okay.
but they are a magazine publication company that sends
Okay.
the magazines out to the top like 500 real estate agents within a specific county
Mm-hmm.
for free. And the people who fund it is the advertisers, obviously. And so I signed up to be one of the advertisers. The paper advertising real estate wasn't the one that I was really like gung ho about. I didn't sign up for it to have advertising space in the magazine. It was the networking events that came with the opportunity. So
Okay.
it put me face to face in front of a lot of real estate agents who are top tier. There were top 500 in the county and top 300 in the county and stuff like that. So it was those events.
You were paying for access or an advertisement in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
But by doing so, you got to go to special events that the magazine company had put on.
Yeah, like quarterly, and then they also had like monthly events that agents could attend that were catered towards goal setting and mortgage Q&A, FAQs, things like that.
Yeah.
Seminars, webinars that were free for the agents to attend, and it was just in a way to get exposure for the sponsors of the event in the magazine.
It's a funny little circle they got going there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
this little ecosystem they've created to generate ad revenue to sell. Yeah, that's funny. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of anybody else who's mentioned using this method to go out and get clients.
It didn't work that well, but that was only because but that was only because I didn't really leverage it as much as I
Okay.
did, right? Because one of the limiting things that I have found was the fact that in my exclusivity policy, I could only work with an agent within a certain market, right? Like it was like one agent per market. And once I locked in a client for the Silicon Valley area, the Santa Clara County area, or like one or two clients within the county, because it was big enough, but it was dense enough that I could fit in 2 clients. I was done. Like that was all I could take within that market.
Yeah.
And so after that, I was like, there's really no point in going to these events except to build the relationships. But in terms of direct revenue from it, like there was nothing after I signed the initial 2 clients or so, right? So after that, I was like, all right, well, what next? And then that was when I got introduced to the realm of cold emails, right? And that was, I forget who exactly introduced it to me, but I think it was Robbie who introduced me into the realm of cold email, especially when I kind of worked with him and beta tested his scaling with systems agency and things like that. He was the one that kind of helped me set the framework, got me my first VA for cold emails, right?
Yeah.
And so that was actually my first hire as well. Was a VA, overseas VA, to do all the cold emailing. That was when we started getting clients that weren't in California, weren't in my immediate local sphere, right? And I think that like the first first client from, what was it? From cold email was, I believe, in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was when I was like, all right, well, shit, there's business outside of California.
Right.
And that was when I started opening my horizons, right? I was like, all right, well, there's like 49 other states and there's like a bajillion cities like across the US that I could leverage. Like,
Right.
why just focus in California? Plus, California is a crap market to try in advertising because it's so damn hard to crack.
It's rough.
It's hella bad.
I mean, the agents make a lot of money for a sale there.
Yeah.
I mean, like what? 1 in every 3 people is an agent.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's so many deals happening, but so like many agents that are doing the deals. So they don't have to do 5, 10, 15, 25 deals a year to do well over there. With the price points, they do 3 and they're, making $150K.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild.
And then advertising to that kind of demographic is a little bit more difficult too. We're finding that they're a little bit more savvy and they are a little bit more savvy with how to avoid people and avoid phone calls and text messages and stuff like that. And so historically, like all our clients, our conversion rates are usually like lower by like 25-50% in California comparatively for the same campaigns for other cities and other states. And so we're actively not trying to recruit agents in California.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not actively advertising there.
No, not at all. Like, yeah, my Facebook page is riddled with a lot of agents in California as well, because that was where I started adding like Facebook friends, realtors as Facebook friends. And then I started expanding, but every now and then when I post results or when I post like some sort of social proof on my Facebook page or my business page or something like that, I'll get a message or two that from someone that's local. And I'm like, sorry, we got someone. But not really, because it's such a pain to like try and generate those results, also set the expectation and keep them happy. And it's a lot more brain and manpower than we really want to invest in for the amount that they pay. So
makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. And if you guys are watching live, hashtag live in the comments down below. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments down below. We sent out the the chat bot a minute ago. So I know a bunch of people have jumped on. If you are just catching us, we're talking tonight with Bao, who is crushing his agency and having a full-time job at the same time. And we're really excited to be talking about that. Again, hashtag live if you're watching live, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And if you have questions, go ahead and put those down in the comments below. We'll make sure we get to those. I know Alan has already come up with a question. He said, does your pricing include ad spend with those packages?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's all going on my card. And so I like the aspect of using rewards points cards to pay for the ad spend and capitalize on those. Those are super fun.
The Amex Gold, baby.
Amex Gold, Chase Sapphire Reserve, or Chase Reserve. I forget which card it is, but I have the Chase one.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's like triple point for social media advertising.
Yeah, I know the Amex is always the one you start with every year because it's like 4 times points for the first $150K in ad spend. Then you're gonna move to the Chase, and it's fun, but it is what it is, right? Awesome. So Kevin says he's live. Phil is live. Kat is live. Yash says, how are you getting most of your clients? We'll get there, Yash. We'll get there. No, I'm kidding. I told you to put the questions down there. So we'll answer. You were talking about how you were getting them initially.
Yeah.
What did that evolve to? And did you try other things along the way to get to where you are now?
Yeah. So networking groups. When I wanted to start off locally, and then I grew by using cold email. And then from cold email, once I was able to leverage the revenue from some of the cold email, and as well as my own income, I started doing paid ads, and paid ads has been my staple ever since.
I see you everywhere. You're everywhere.
It's working.
I'm a real estate agent, so I show up a bunch of people's ads, or I see a bunch of people's ads, and yours are probably the most consistent agency ads that I see.
Yeah.
It's
You
just,
gotta keep it going.
yeah.
You gotta keep it going.
So you did the cold email thing for a long time. Are you still
Yeah.
doing the cold email?
Yeah. We're still doing the cold email. It's on autopilot at this point. My VA just goes through and scrapes lists from various cities using D7 and scraping it and cleaning it.
D7 Lead Finder, for those of you who don't know what D7 is.
Yep.
You can Google it and it comes up. It's like, what, $20, $29 a month or something for the premium or something?
Yeah. And that's all you really need. Like, you don't, like, I just have, as a part of my SOP, I have it so that my VA does a little bit of searches like every day so that their list builds up and then they'll just bulk clean it. And then they'll rinse and repeat every single time they run out of emails.
Yeah.
So.
And that makes sense. So you did that. You're doing cold email. It's starting to work. You're starting to make a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in your agency did you start running paid ads?
Probably when I was at 3 to 4 clients.
Okay.
And I wanted to, like, one of the biggest things was that, when you send out cold emails, there's a lot more nurturing and education involved on those calls. And just like agents, right? Agencies love inbound leads. And that was kind of like where we were switching up, right? We were like, all right, well, cold email still feels outbound, despite the fact that, when they say yes, when they say yes, they'll be interested, but they won't necessarily be an inbound lead. It's still the mindset of, oh, you reached out to me. I didn't sign up for this, right? It's that mentality switch. So paid ads was kind of like what I wanted to delve into. And it was especially true when I coupled it with, like, I've signed up for a bunch of what do you call it? Coaching programs. Beyond, like, after REMCM, there was I signed up for, I don't know if you guys know him, but Tyler Narducci. So he's the done for you agency guy. Basically, the structure of his agency is that he helps you build your agency via a kind of like a copy and paste method. It's mostly to start you off with finding contractors that have results, using that to leverage sales calls and building an offer, and then finding you guys a sales guy, and then after that, running paid ads for you. And that was one of the starting exposures for me when it came to paid ads, because I started working with them because I needed a sales guy. A lot of my sales calls were done at night, and a lot of agents didn't want to do sales calls at night, right? Because I was working full time. And I think at that time I was like, working at LinkedIn or Dropbox, LinkedIn probably. So I was working at LinkedIn at the time.
So you worked for quite a few high profile companies.
Yeah. It's that's a story for another day, but like I have quite the pedigree when it comes to software engineering. Like I taught myself how to code, and then I went to a coding boot camp. As soon as I graduated, I did a little bit of a job search, got to Dropbox. As soon as I went to Dropbox, I went to LinkedIn. And then after LinkedIn, I'm at Amazon. And so they're like pretty notable names out there for software engineering companies, tech companies.
And you said you taught yourself. Did you go to college for this, or?
No, I went to college for something completely unrelated. Yeah. So
what did you go to college for?
I went to college with a degree in biochemistry. I was supposed to go to med school.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you end up in this area? Guys, people, stop watching these late night webinars at 2 a.m. No, I'm kidding. We have don't.
Yo, that shit changes lives. No, but I started off with pre-med, right? I was doing really well. I had the volunteer experience. I had the research experience to make it to like top tier medical schools even. But when I took the kind of like, not the entrance exams or anything like that, but it's kind of like the standardized test for medical school, I scored really high in the sciences, like both sciences. I scored really, really high, but I scored really, really low at the verbal. It's like this SAT verbal, right? It's like the crap that you as a highly technical science major would not do well in because you never majored in English, right? Or philosophy or something like that. Those are kind of the topics that, people who studied philosophy, history, English were doing well at.
Okay.
But I wasn't because I studied very technical. So after that, I was like, all right, well, let's study a little bit of, let's take some time to study. And after a while, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know if I want to go back to school for 12 years to become a surgeon. You know, it was like my life on hold for that much longer. And so
Yeah.
that was when I kind of like lost my way. And at the time I was working in, and not engineering jobs, but it was like contract lab associate jobs with my biochemistry degree. And those were dead end jobs especially for a BS degree. Like you could not go anywhere without a PhD. Like you couldn't like break any sort of glass ceiling without a PhD. And I didn't want to go back to school for a PhD because that was even worse than medical school. But like it was one of those things where it looks like, all right, well, what do I do now? And so at the time I was living with my roommate, and my roommate did the coding boot camp, came out, landed a 6-figure salary. I was like, holy shit.
The coding boot camp.
Yeah, coding boot camp. After he graduated from the coding boot camp, you know, he found a job for 6 figures. I was like, holy crap, you know, like, all right, well, it piqued my interest. About a month or two later, you know, I was like, yo, how do I get started with this? He's like, all right, well, teach yourself first, get up to speed, see if you like it even. I did it. I loved it. It was addicting. It was fun. It was like solving problems and puzzles and stuff like that. So I decided to actually apply for the coding bootcamp, and the coding bootcamp was extremely rigorous. I spent probably about 2-3 months of intensive studying for it. Basically, I worked full time, and then after working after getting off work, I would dedicate another 4 or 5 hours to just learning, right, teaching myself how to code, practicing. And then I went through the rigorous application process. And then when I got into the boot camp, it was like 16 hours a day of just coding, pair programming, stuff like that. So it was an intensive boot camp. I lived South Bay at the time, which is kind of like 40 minutes away from where the boot camp was. But I decided to completely immerse myself when I was in San Francisco. Moved up to San Francisco during the weekdays, stayed in a bunk bed, paid $1,300 for a bunk bed that I shared in a room with, like, you know, 4 other bunk beds with other people in the room that were also kind of like almost classmates. Some were classmates, some weren't. But I lived like that for like 3 months just to get my bearings and get really immersed in this. It was great. Wow. It was kind of like a hacker house. It was fun. So yeah, that's the transition.
That one too, huh?
Yeah. Pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. It was fun though. It was such a good experience. Life-changing. Like that one skill that I learned within a 4 month period, mm-hmm. I doubled my salary.
Wow.
Just that skill set that I learned from that boot camp, I doubled my salary. And it was as easy as learning a skill for 4 months.
Wow.
And it's the same skill, or it was a skill that that got me into a job that most people took like a 4-year BS degree in computer science to get to.
Wow.
And so the dynamics of that has really changed.
Yeah. And I mean, so you do all of this, mm-hmm. You come out of college with a bachelor's degree. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not going to do any of this stuff I just got my degree in.
Yeah.
I'm going to go learn how to code. You teach yourself how to code. You go to a coding boot camp that it must be a pretty like high-end coding boot camp if they're able to teach people like that over 90 days, right? Yeah. And must be pretty reputable if you're able to get a job coming out of there like that.
Their acceptance rate was like 3 to 4%.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you taught yourself to be at an exceptional level just to get into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, you were like, all right, I'm going to go do this stuff. But Dan Henry's in my face at 2 a.m. So like, wait, connect the dots for me. Where does this go from like, I've, you know, skipped my degree, like went to this boot camp, and now I've created this 6-figure salary, this amazing career that most people would be thrilled just to have that. And you're like, but I also want to run a, you know, 6-figure, 7-figure business.
Yeah. So The rationale behind there was so I got a six-figure salary over at Dropbox, but the mindset there was like millionaires have more than one source of income. In fact, on average, they have 6 to 7, right?
Mhm.
And the agency was going to be one of those income sources. But it didn't originally start off as like, digital marketing agency. It was just website design because that was where my skill set was. Because as a software engineer, when I graduated from that coding bootcamp and I started working at Dropbox, I had furthered deepened my skill set for building websites, for building web applications. And that was when I was like, all right, well, let's also use this skill set to build apps and to build website for other people. And it was then that I was like, all right, well, local businesses, there are a lot of local businesses. When I checked out their website, they looked outdated. They, especially real estate agents, their websites are kind of ass. And so very outdated, out of the box kind of thing template from Playster and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So I was approaching those companies, and it's not companies, those realtors, and asking, hey, let me build your website, right? And that was kind of like how that started inside the agency space. And the rest is history with regards to the development there or the evolution there. I wanted to add SEO because once I stopped marketing to work on websites, there was no income of or no inflow of new customers, new
Makes
clients.
makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, so you had to figure out how to get that traffic to the website.
yeah,
No, okay. So you basically you wanted to create multiple avenues of income.
yes, yes.
That's what got you off into the agency thing while you had this awesome career.
Mm-hmm.
You probably, and from the sound of it, you hate to sleep, so you wanted to more hours in the day if you could. If there's any way you could work more hours, you were going to find it. Um,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about that, because I mean that kind of gives us a lot of the history on you, and it sounds like you're like somebody who's just really committed. Like when you go for something, you just really freaking go for it.
Yeah.
Like I'm guessing you ran up against some obstacles along the way, but pushed through those because you were just completely committed. It sounds like.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about now with where you're at. Like, all right, it's one thing to start an agency, but now you have a successful agency and you have this awesome job. Like, how are you managing that?
The main thing is with the team. For me, the only reason why I'm able to run my agency as successful or whatever as it is because I have a team that is helping me run things. And it's right now, I believe it's like a team of 10. I have a sales guy who's doing all the sales, doing all the demo calls and stuff. We recently brought 3 appointment setters on to book out his calendar for demo calls. And I have an account manager as well as the VAs. I have 2 VAs who are helping me with cold email as well as various other tasks like campaign setup. I have a VA who is also dedicating time to responding to like comments, like ridiculous comments on your Facebook ads. Like when you run
Oh yeah,
Facebook ads, you got some weirdos
yeah, you sure
that
do.
comment and like so they'll respond, or anybody who is interested, like they want more info in the comments and decided to be somewhat of an idiot and not just click on learn more, like
Yeah.
she'll respond to those and get bookings, intro call books from those, and so that's kind of like her primary role as well. So and then the goal is to then have my appointment setters elevate themselves to closers, my closer right now to elevate himself to like a director of sales position. And then he's also going to be in charge of a couple other things. My account manager is going to probably eventually be kind of like director of operations, or some like replacing majority of the things that I do right now,
Okay.
basically. And then therefore it leaves the account manager gap open, which is one of the other appointment setters. And so there's like that whole dynamic of a team now. And so they are truly what is helping me run the company while I'm working full time and still be operational, like 8-10 hours a day.
Wow. Yeah, go team.
Yeah.
Hashtag go team if you guys are watching.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So you've built a team. What would you say is the breakdown? How much of the work are you doing in the agency? How much of the work is your team doing? 20%, 80, 40, 60?
I would say I'm probably putting in maybe like 20% of the work of the agency right now, maybe 30 on some days, especially if there's like client fires and things like that. But
Yeah.
right now, I'm not handling any client calls. I'm not handling any sales calls or anything like that. I'm handling higher level stuff, implementing systems, and then also working with third party agencies or external agencies to help develop systems. I know you guys have had Reynard and Franbo on Whiskey Thursday. I'm working with them.
Nice.
Absolutely phenomenal team for helping me set up systems and stuff like that. They took my existing systems, which I thought were pretty badass, and they made it even better. And so that's been pretty fucking awesome. So I get to work on the things that I want to work on, which is implementing systems, and automations, connecting the dots within the company and all that stuff. So that's really fun stuff. I did the sales at one point. I closed deals. I never really liked it, right, as much.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you said was it one of those tests showed like that wasn't your strong point, was
yeah.
the language communication, whatnot. Like it seems like you have a lot of typically in like a personality profile, they call it like an engineer mind, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how you think.
Kind of. That test was just weird. It's verbal reasoning for that test that you're talking about, the MCAT.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily talk about like my ability to communicate with people per se. I think I'm a pretty good communicator. I just didn't like the sales aspect of it.
Yeah.
Get me on client calls and we'll jam it out. We'll have a fun time talking. I connect with all of the partners and the clients that I have had, and even now, like I'll hop on like client calls every now and then just to say hi, and there's always a connection that's built. So that's never really an issue. It was just kind of like getting aggressive, pushing for the sale, pushing for the close, and like it got to the point where I was emotionally attached to the sale, which made it really, really bad. Like when you get emotionally attached to the sale, and you don't get it, it brings you down. When you face rejection over and over and over again, that shit gets you down. And then you'll get that win, and it's a very, very much roller coaster ride. And towards the end, I was getting more wins than I was getting rejections, but it was still one of those things where I was like, it's not my calling, right? It's not what I want to do. It's not what I wanted to build this business for, was taking sales calls all day.
Well, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how long did you do the sales calls? And if this was something that maybe it wasn't difficult, but it was something that you didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes it difficult, right? So
yeah. Like, it makes it difficult to execute and want to do it. Right?
Exactly. So what did you do as somebody who's not enjoying it, to kind of force yourself to still be able to produce results? Because I think a lot of people would get stuck when it's like, man, I can't stand the sales calls, and like this could end up being a huge obstacle in people's way of actually having an agency, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do
to motivate myself to continue doing sales,
to
take sales calls? I don't know, to be honest. It was just one of those things where it had to be done. Like, if you wanted new business, it had to be done. And so I did. I called positive responses during my lunch breaks. That didn't always happen, but when I did, I do it, right?
Well, you said initially it was a lot more rejection than it was winning.
Yeah.
So how did you get that to shift?
Oh, okay. So at some point it was a mindset shift.
Was it?
Right. Yeah, it was a mindset shift. I was just like, at one point I was just, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I want to try and not have this. It wasn't overnight. It was a mindset shift, but it wasn't overnight, right? Like, it's a shift in the mindset. Like, I've decided that I want to view sales calls this way. I don't need the sale, right? It was at the point where I was like, all right, well, and I know it's a lot harder for other people to conceptualize this because their agency is their main thing. But because
Right.
I had this, my agency was a side gig, I had a primary income, it was easy to say, I don't need the sale. I already have income. I don't need the sale. So that helped me detach myself emotionally from the sale. And I think that made me sound a lot less desperate on the calls. It made me have a lot more of a coaching attitude on the call with regards to, all right, let me show you what, or demonstrate a little bit of what I know and how I can better help your business and, you know, give you a couple coaching points. And that usually helps close the sale, right? Because then you're not seen as somebody who just wants to sell. You're seen as somebody who wants to help.
Yeah.
And that I think was what also, because all of a sudden, like less of a salesperson, more of a coach, you become a little bit more attractive on the sales call. And I think
Okay.
that was what helped with the mindset shift as well. And what started me getting onto the path of less rejection, more wins.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Let's see. Hart says yes, and you somehow lose motivation with all the rejections when you're emotionally attached. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
And Kat says it's always a mindset shift, in my opinion. On some level, as woo as that sounds, it's always a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time it definitely can be a mindset shift. I mean, what you're talking about is clearly a mindset shift.
Yeah.
So where was the shift from you doing your own sales to hiring a salesperson?
It was when I was having very difficult times with scheduling demo calls because it was too late. It was too late. Oh, that's too late. You know, like, especially when I got off work, it was like, what, like 5, 6 p.m., right?
Yeah.
And that was Pacific Standard Time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so agents in the East Coast, they're like getting ready for bed. They're with families. They don't want to take sales calls.
Yeah.
Over on the, so primarily most of my clients starting out were all like Pacific Standard Time clients. And those are the only times that, you know, like they wanted to schedule times during that time. And even then I had to get off work a little bit earlier to kind of like do these calls because they were like, oh, 5's not going to work for me. Maybe 4. I was like, all right, well, we'll make it work. Right. I had to make it work somehow.
Right.
And then there's a couple times where I had to do sales calls during my lunch when my team wasn't going for lunch. Like my team at LinkedIn or something like that wasn't going for lunch. Right?
Okay.
So, yeah, that was like that was a mindset. That was a mindset shift on its own. It's like, all right, it's not sustainable. I can't do all the sales calls. I'm just not getting enough volume because I'm losing out on sales because nobody wants to book that late at night.
Yeah.
Right. And I've taken a couple sales calls at 6, 7 a.m. Those don't go well.
Why? I'm curious.
I'm not that alert. Like, I don't recognize objection opportunities as objection opportunities. I'm just like, okay, yeah.
They're like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of money. How about if you do it for 400? And you're like, okay.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
I'll get the paperwork over to you.
Yeah, it's like it's way too early, dude. Like 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
Right.
I've had like 3, 4, 5 of those calls, and I was like, no, thank you, no more.
Oh man, and the agents on the East Coast, it's like 9 a.m. They've been up for like 15 minutes. They're all ready to go.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So then that was when I decided. I was like, all right, well, I need a sales guy. And I had talked to Ravi about where he got his sales guy because he had one. He recommended me over to Mike Mark.
We hear Mike Mark's name a lot.
Yeah. So I reached out to Mike Mark. He disqualified me.
He disqualified you.
Yeah, he disqualified me. I didn't have like a set sales process in place. I wasn't making enough revenue at the time as well. So it was one of those cases where I was like, all right, that's fair. I had to do more volume. And so instead, he referred me over to Tyler Narducci, who had that Done For You agency. And so I signed up for the sales guy.
Okay.
And so that was kind of like a work in progress. Their sales department at the time wasn't well worked out. I guess it wasn't well structured, built out just yet. And so I had some difficulty with a couple of the sales guys that I placed. Shortly after I had joined onto Tyler Narducci's program, I got into Joel Kaplan's program, the
Mhm.
7-figure agency. And from there, you know, it helped that Joel had a working relationship with Mike.
Yeah.
And they had an established sales process that Mike had already approved of. And so when I adopted Joel Kaplan's sales process into my own process, tried it a couple times, got a couple closes. I went to Mike Mark and I was like, hey, dude, this is my situation. I work full time. I can't get enough volume as I would like to. I'm using Joel Kaplan's sales process. I have a proven offer. You know, can we work? I need a sales guy, right? And so that was when he was like, all right, because of this, and this, I can make an exception, and let's get you a sales guy. And so I got a sales guy. It was a great process through Mike Mark. It was a great process. And you know, the first sale that came from the sales guy was when I had literally I was like, I remember that it distinctly that I was somewhat sick that day. Like I was feeling under the weather. I was just waking up. It was like 7 a.m. And my sales guy, Preston, he texted me. It was like, yeah, we got one. $9,000 paid in full.
Boom.
Boom, paid in full. And it was a sale that was conducted as I was just waking up.
How did
I
that
was like, dude, that felt so good. It was liberating, right? To have money come in. I got the Stripe payment, blasted that to social media, like to Kingdom Come. I was like, yo, 9K paid in full. This was like, I didn't put any work into it except to run the ads for it, right? My sales guy got on the intro call, qualified them, got on the demo call, closed them, and, you know, collected payment. I woke up to a Stripe notification that you got $9,000 paid. You know, like it was liberating, and I had no part in the sales process except for generating that appointment.
That is awesome.
It was liberating. It was absolutely liberating.
Hart says they have a problem with time zones as well. What's your first source of income? You're working with Amazon, right? As a software engineer. That's cool. If the agency is a second source, so no pressure to close, just give value and they'll come to you. Yeah. So with what you're doing, you know, having a sales guy who's doing all this, how did that affect your services? Because you started off with, what did you offer? I think like everything in the phone book.
Yeah, everything in the phone book. Yeah, I always phrase it as everything digital under the sun.
Yeah, there you go.
Everything
Exactly.
digital under the
If
sun.
it had anything to do with a computer, a tablet, an iPhone, or so on, you were handling it. So,
Yep.
but what did you end up like getting rid of and breaking that down to have that finished product?
Everything except Facebook ads. Everything except Facebook ads. I nicked everything, even though there was elements of digital marketing that I found insanely valuable.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of digital marketing is insanely valuable, but whether or not clients are going to see the return and the benefits of it and money in their pocket, that remains to be a different matter. That said, it's kind of weird that I got into real estate because of the transaction cycle is so long. Yeah. But I think that's just because I had the support there. But originally it was because I was working with gyms, I was working with chiropractors, I was working with microbladers and permanent tattoo artists. And, you know, I was able to get them paying clients within a matter of days. It was easy to build that trust. But real estate just had better support, better proven system. And so I niched down into Facebook ads for real estate agents through this course, in fact. So, you know, that was when I was like, all right, Facebook ads through the academy. Yes, okay. Through the academy.
Just clarifying, we've talked about so many of them here.
Yeah, through the academy. Yeah, that was
recommending the academy, everybody. If you're not,
dude, I'm just kidding. I totally thought you guys took that down. Like I thought you guys weren't accepting more members, but if you guys are open, you guys got my full vouch for it.
It is open. It is open and available.
If you guys aren't on it, you got it. It's so worth. And then Matt and Shane are always adding more value. It's insane.
We're doing what we can. So you're in everything. You chisel it down. You offer just Facebook ads. I think there's a lot of people that have issues with that, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to just be another Facebook ad agency.
Yeah.
How'd you deal with that?
So we were struggling with that for a long time. It was just providing leads for agents, and retention was absolute crap with just Facebook ads, right? Because they have to
How
make
crap?
calls.
How crap?
Like I got complaints like every day, like every other day. The leads come in. Oh, I tried calling them, they didn't pick up. I tried calling them, it was wrong number. I tried calling them, the dog accidentally submitted my information. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like,
Did you get that objection?
did the dog, not the baby. I've gotten the baby, I got the kid. That dog was the one that cracked me up. I was like, are you fucking what? But yeah, like all of these, they had to deal with like tire kickers. They had to deal with wrong numbers. They had to deal with all
I'm still
sorts
stuck
of
on the
crap.
dog. Hashtag Fido wants a doghouse.
I don't want the doghouse.
Did you should have just asked them when they're like,
Oh
oh, the
my
dog
God.
accidentally submitted the info. Be like, what? Does he want a bigger yard? What?
Oh my God.
That is awesome.
That would have been great to say. Yeah.
So,
I don't want some bigger yard.
oh, welcome to Whiskey Thursday. If you're just joining, hashtag live in the comments down below. If you're still here, hashtag live in the comments down below. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments down below. Christian Santiago says, yo, no joke. That same thing happened to me. Someone blamed it on their dog. You guys, I want to know the first person to use the objection handler. No problem. So does your dog want a bigger yard? And see what they say. See what they say. You got nothing to lose at that point.
Yeah, right. Like they're probably getting ready to cancel anyways. That would have been funny as hell. If I was that way and was able to come up with that, that would have been freaking epic.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's freaking hilarious. But yeah, so I mean, like they were always complaining about tire kickers. They were complaining about wrong numbers. They were complaining about people who don't even remember what they submitted their info to, right? They were complaining about a lot of things, right? Having to call 100, 150 leads a month or something like that. And it was the expectation that we set with them that they had to call, anywhere from 5 to 10 times within the first couple days, right? Just to have a solid follow-up process.
Okay.
And so it's that got tedious for them. They just didn't want to do that. And so, that was after getting enough of those complaints. That was when we started exploring ISA solutions. That was when ISAs kind of became an option, right? We started finding out that, hey, people are using, like other companies like Agentology and ISA Experts or whatever the case is, right? And like that was when we started exploring ISAs, and that improved our offer. And then, once people started realizing that ISAs was the way to go, it was then, how do we differentiate from them, right? And that was when I started migrating to adding a heavy support system, right? So my account manager doesn't just manage accounts in the sense that, gather billing every now and then, answer support tickets. I have my account manager within the first month get on weekly calls with the agents. Within the first month, get on weekly calls. And she also maintains very, very close contact with them by text messages, phone calls, in between those check-in calls if needed. And so it's very, very hands-on. The amount of support that we provide our agents it's very, very hands-on. And then the second month and beyond, they'll migrate over to bi-weekly. But even then, Nicole, who's my account manager, is very accessible via like text, email, phone calls, and stuff like that. So it provides an additional level of experience. And we also provide them the white labeled follow-up course that you guys have built as a part of the support. Yeah, the Academy. So we provide that as an additional add-on to the support.
How did that help?
It helped a ton. Like as a part of the onboarding process, while they're waiting for their campaigns to go live, I tell them to go through the course. And whenever I go through and gather the feedback, they're like, yeah, I found that very, very helpful. right? Because not a lot of people are very well trained to follow up with online internet leads.
It's
Right?
crazy.
Yeah.
You go get your real estate license, they teach you about riparian rights and all these goofy things that you're probably not going to run into 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you how to simply follow up with some leads.
Yeah.
Provide a good service.
Our program has helped numerous first-time agents
Yeah.
close deals. And
Really?
it's super awesome to think about because we've had at minimum 2 agents within the last 2-3 months who have closed their first deal within a matter of a month, 2 months of working with us.
So these are brand new agents?
Brand new agents have
They
never
sign up with you.
They sign up.
No training, no nothing. You put them through the white label program.
They go through the white label program, have additional follow-up support from Nicole based off of our other agents' experiences.
Yep.
We had an agent over in Chicago close her first deal for like what was like 400 or 500 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had an even better case study of a new agent, freaking 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
19 years old, new agent, close on a $1.3 million home.
Wow.
Yeah.
And these are, I almost wonder if it's an advantage to be a new agent and start working with somebody who's got a system like yours because they don't have the bad habits yet, right?
That could very much well be the case because we're also on their asses with making phone calls.
Yeah.
Especially with the model of live transfers and stuff like that, they don't have a choice. And if it comes in that they didn't pick up the live transfers, we're on their butts about it. We're like, hey, why didn't you pick up the live transfer? What was going on? Right?
Do you ever
Did you call them back?
Do you ever drop clients because they're a pain for you and you?
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah. We have.
You were real quick to answer that one.
Yeah.
Somebody's name just popped right into your head.
Whenever clients get super toxic, we're like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out anymore. And we just part ways. Like we'll cancel their contract and we'll part ways.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good place to be where you can do that.
Yeah.
So you guys, I mean, again, you're doing this is your, I don't even know if you can call it a side hustle. Like it's a business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're running $25K a month plus. I mean, what's on the horizon for you guys? What's next? You growing? Trying to maintain?
Growing. We're planning on growing. I definitely want to hit that coveted 100K a month. And be able to call myself solidly a 7-figure agency. After that, I feel like I'd be pretty happy with that growth or that kind of like level of consistent income. I don't want too big of a team. I think 10's a good size, and I think we can manage up to 100K with the team that we have right now.
I was going to ask you about that because 10 for 10 to 12 clients does not seem very lean.
It's not. At the moment, it's not. But that was because we did lose some clients. Okay. But we also expect to grow pretty quickly in the next month or two. Yeah. And I wanted to have the infrastructure in place for it. Majority of the team is the sales force.
Okay.
Right. So, and that's what's been mainly important is the sales aspect of it. Right. And so, and it's only been made possible because we have mostly been looking at commission only Salesforce agents. That's only the only way it's been possible because the only steady salary that I have to pay at the moment, whether or not there's closes coming in, is my account manager and the VAs. Everybody else is commission only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know there's a lot of people out there that are teaching VA stuff now. It's becoming a new course trend. What about your I lost the word, client manager, right?
Yeah. The
person who's managing all your clients. That is not something we hear a lot about as far as hiring. How did you find this person?
Oh, I love the way this was implemented. I kind of put a spin on something that Robbie had showed us how to do. So I created an application, and I had made, basically the application was on a kind of like a Wufoo form or like a Google, you could make it on a Google form or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the premise is they have to qualify through all of these points. and then they have to shoot a video of themselves because they need to have a video presence, right? Because they're doing video calls with clients. And then I posted them to various groups. I had one on ClickFunnels. I had posted one in the RemCM group. I also had one. I also made ads on Indeed as well as LinkedIn, and I don't know if I did Monster, but I know I did the other two. And the caveat was, and I boosted them, right? I paid like $20 or something like that to boost those posts, those the advertisement, the job advertisement, the job post.
Yeah.
But the caveat was that you couldn't apply through their natural like application process on those websites. You had to click the link to the application within the body of the job posting.
Okay.
Right.
A little different.
So yeah, so if you had clicked on like easy apply or something like that with LinkedIn, like you wouldn't get the job at all. Like,
Yes.
because
You didn't want the people that were just sitting there spamming like apply, 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 apply.
exactly. So I mean, I didn't even look at those. Like I had like 300-400 applications at one point that completely flooded my emails.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got one like every 2 minutes or sometimes every minute. And I was like, all right, well, I got to set a filter for this because I don't want to deal with all these emails. So I set a filter, marked it as unread because I was never going to look at them anyways, and threw them in the trash or something like that. And the only ones that I did look at were the ones that came through the Wufoo form notifications. And so, I mean, like I had 600, 700, 800 applicants, but only 30 or so of them had submitted the application through the correct channels. And so that was how I found Nicole. Out of all the applicants, she was the strongest one, had the best camera presence as well as the best personal like interaction when I interviewed her during the final step. So
makes sense. I mean, you don't have to give us exact numbers or anything, but what's an account manager and a full-time account manager? What is their range as far as what it's going to cost you a month to keep one around?
So I think it really depends on where you're looking for them, right? Because I had opportunities for ones that were overseas because it was a remote position, right? And I think any further hires that I make, if I do make any additional hires, would probably be along this model, but they would basically be native US citizens or something like that, but they moved overseas. So that the cost is a lot lower. And I had one or two of those, but they just weren't as strong as candidates. But I could have probably paid them anywhere from like $6, $7 an hour, and they would have been happy with it. Upwards towards right now, my account manager's salary is within $15 to $20 per hour. We settled on an agreeable set salary that wasn't based on hourly because she understood, and it was really helpful because this is why she became such a great fit, was because she understood that we were a startup. She understood that she would have to wear many hats, and if she wanted to be a part of the company's growth and success, there would be weird hours that she might have worked and weird roles that she'd have to step into. And it was also this understanding and the way that she negotiated her offer that made her a winning candidate, right? Wow. So you go through a couple ones that are kind of like iffy, and you'll run across a couple of Nicoles, right? So we're lucky we got with Nicole because then she was completely understanding. I feel like I'm paying her. I feel like I'm underpaying her for the amount of stuff, but it's not something that can be helped right now. But as we scale, and as we move her into promotions and stuff, I definitely intend to give her a raise. But we are also doing commissions for account managers as well. So like for contract extensions or program upgrades, upsells, things like that, she gets a commission on those. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
They can get sales bonuses. Okay. That's
cool.
Yeah,
account managers to get sales bonus. They're also salespeople, right? Yeah. To a certain extent. They resell them on the product every single time they hop on the call, right? And then as they get closer to their agreement or their cancellation time or the end of their whatever agreement is, they have opportunities to upsell.
Value, man. Value. Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah. So I pay my account manager a commission per month, recurring commission for however long the contract is extended. Okay. And also a certain percentage of the difference in the increase from one package to the other. I also pay her a commission for any video testimonial that she gets.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
So she's incentivized to chase them after video testimonials too.
So I think in order to get somebody, it sounds like you got somebody who's got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Right. And are they local to the US? Are they living in another country or?
They're in the US.
Okay. So they're local to the US. They're, um, real talent really is what it comes down to based on what you're saying is like, this person sounds like real talent. They're fluent in English, which is nice. They're good camera presence. So in order to get all of this in the package that you were able to get it in, for the price you're able to get it, you had to cast some sort of a vision for them to be able to believe in you and your company.
Yep.
How did you do that?
Dude, that's a heavy question.
I know. I think that's something that a lot of people, if you haven't been in that position before, you haven't had to do it, right? And I've only seen it a couple times in different parts of, my experience, but it's something that when you can cast a real vision, you can attract real talent.
Yeah.
So do you remember it all? I know you've had her probably for a little while here. Do you remember it all? Kind of how you were able to cast that vision for her to be able to jump on board with it?
I don't remember like exact specifics. I kind of remember the flow of the conversation. It was, most of the vision was kind of like laid out within my job posting. I talked about the company values. I talked about the vision of the company, where we wanted to be in like 5 years, 10 years, that kind of thing. I believe I made it pretty plainly obvious that we were a startup.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we valued our clients, and actually instead of clients internally and externally from the company, we call them partners. We term them partners because that's the position that we want them to see us as, like partners in their business. And so, our company vision really pertains to like partners first, and innovating for the partners and things like that. And so that was something that she vibed with really, really well. Also with the growth in 5 years, we wanted to be in X amount of markets, and we also sold how different we are from other lead companies as well. Like with, obviously Zillow, et cetera, with just generating leads, providing an additional qualification step with regards to ISAs and multi-channel qualifications. And then the support that I was providing at the time that she would be the one doing, that was something that fascinated her as well. So that was kind of like how we kind of sold it, I would think, was the aspect of, hey, this is how we're different. We're trying to revolutionize the space. We're trying to make the experience for a lot of agents a lot better, and really relating it to where she could see herself within the company. And that was, I made it super clear that, hey, when you come onto this role, you're going to be working very closely with me, because here's the thing. Because I work full time, I need to offload a lot of ideas, a lot of things that I want to implement, and a lot of processes that I'm already implementing. I want to be able to offload them onto someone to record, to implement, to take action on, as well as do the account manager stuff, right? And she was super sold on that. And I guess that was a vision, because then that was like, hey, this isn't just an account management opportunity, right? This is something that could take me as far as director of operations and operationals manager or something like that, right? And that's where I communicated with her. I was like, ideally, I think this would be something that you'd be great fit for. And that was, I guess how I positioned the offer there, and sold the position and sold her the opportunity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys, if you're watching live, hashtag live in the comments down below. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments down below. Bao is here. He is giving us all sorts of wisdom. We're just question after question, getting into his business, getting into how he runs his business, the way he thinks about his business. We are going deep on this one. It was funny because you're talking to me like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to talk about, man. Like, you have a full-time job. We'll talk about side hustles a little bit, but we're really diving into, we've dove into hiring, into acquisitions. We're going all over the place. So I'm loving it. Let us know, you guys, if you're watching this, if you are enjoying this, if we're answering the questions you have, if it's making sense, or if you have other questions, go ahead and put those down in the comments below, and we'll try and get them. I'm going to jump in and see if we have some questions right now that I might have missed. Let's see. Oh, what type of campaigns are working best for you at the moment?
We're just running homes listed foreclosure ads.
Oh, look at that. Homeless foreclosure ads.
Occasional listing ads.
And listing ads. Yeah, that stuff still works. It's crazy. Kevin says, at what point will you quit your full-time job?
That's a tough one. To a certain extent, I don't know if I'm going to, because I love what I do. Like, I wouldn't have gotten into it if it wasn't one of those things where, I mean, I dedicated 16 hours a day for like 3-4 months to it. I'm enjoying the things that I'm doing. I don't know if I want to leave my full-time job. I want to, and it's one of those weird things where, like, a lot of people start their agencies because they're sick of their job. I just wanted to start my agency because I wanted another form of income, an additional income source.
Yeah.
Right. So ideally what I want to do is further remove myself. I actually had a leadership team meeting with my leadership meeting with my leadership team this morning to establish that. But I want to, for my agency. Yeah. Okay. So, and that's basically my current sales guy, account manager, and somebody who's helping me with fulfillment right now, who is recruiting for somebody else, recruiting somebody else in the company to take care of fulfillment. But I basically want to get to the point where I'm removing myself from the agency, but it's still running, right? And I just collect passive income from it.
Makes sense.
And so this meeting that I had with my leadership team this morning, I was like, hey, right now I'm fielding a lot of questions, right? Like, sales questions, whenever whenever sales guys have questions about fulfillment, about client experience right now, they're asking me. And my account manager, whenever there's any questions regarding the ads and stuff, they're asking me. And the fulfillment guy, whenever there's questions regarding how the client campaigns are doing on the front end, like how are live transfers, how are quality leads coming in, they're asking me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, you know, guys, I'm like the bottleneck of the company right now because I work full time. I can only allocate so much time to digging into all these specifics because, you know, when you hire, if you don't set the expectation correctly, you're just gonna you go from one problem, like some sort. I remember Ravi saying something about this where, you know, you go from client nightmares to account manager nightmares or something like that, where you're like fielding requests from clients. But once you hire an account manager, if you don't set the expectation right, you're going to be fielding requests from account managers, right? So it's kind of like the same concept now where I'm fielding requests and questions from sales guys and account managers. And so everything was like a funnel towards me. And I had this graphic. I was like, hey, this is a funnel towards me right now. We're starting a project right now. This is the current communication structure. We're going to start this project called Decentralizing BOW, right? And so it was basically just removing myself, not necessarily out from the entire company, but opening up the communication channels so that they are more comfortable communicating with each other and having me as an auxiliary and as definitely as a backup to any questions or concerns. So right now, if Nicole has any questions with regards to fulfillment, hey, can we launch this campaign? Can we do this optimization? The clients are asking. It doesn't go through me, right? It goes directly to the person doing fulfillment. And so now I expect, because I only had this meeting this morning, I expect to field less issues like this and not have to deal with a lot of this stuff. Not have to make changes or tweaks to the campaigns, not have to fix Zaps, have to fix Integromat stuff, not have to deal with those kind of like issues that are kind of like smaller in scale, right? So
makes sense.
Yeah.
So Yash wants to know, how did you improve, or what did you improve for the quality of the leads?
I made it a little bit more long form, and I sent them to an ISA.
There you go. So you sent volume with a little bit more questions to an ISA.
Yep.
So now the agents don't have to deal with anybody who doesn't want to be on the phone.
Yes, that, and setting expectations with agents and setting them up so that they anticipate any quote unquote lack of quality there is, which isn't really lack of quality. It's just buyers are in a different buying phase.
Yeah.
Right. They're in a different time phase. They're in a different mindset than your referrals. Right. And it's also setting the fact that, hey, we're sending you 10, 15, 20 live transfers, booked appointments per month, but focus on the 1, 2, 3 that are really, really golden opportunities.
Right.
Focus your energy there. That's where the gold is. Right. And so when they get those that do want foreclosures and they want like homes that are like 50 grand under budget, or they're like poor quality, they're like pipeline leads, or 6+ months out or something like that, add those to your pipelines, but don't expend so much energy to them. You know, setting those expectations that have helped not necessarily improve lead quality, but some of this stuff has improved lead quality, but we still see some of those recurring issues that if you set the expectation right with your clients to expect those, it's a little bit different. Right. And that's definitely what we're working on. It's a learning process. It's never complete, right? Because once you feel like you've got a handle on setting expectations, somebody will pull the rug out from under your feet. All of a sudden you got to reset expectations. In fact, very recently we had like these series of client fires that pertain to those setting expectations. And one of those was, you know, me hopping on a launch or a check-in call with one of our clients. They were like, I want to turn this campaign off. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to optimize. One specific example was where, you know, this agent who we've been working with has been super happy so far with all the campaigns, got a lead that legitimately wanted a foreclosure. Right. And he was like, but I don't want leads with foreclosures. Turn the ad off. Right. And unfortunately, I mean, like, I, not knowing any better, and I should have known better, I turned off the campaign for him. Like, I was, you know, like, it was one of those things where it's like partner centric. I definitely want to make him happy, that kind of thing. So we turned off the foreclosure campaign. Turns out it was his best performing campaign. And he got all of his current leads that he was so happy with from this campaign that he asked me to turn off because he got one bad lead.
Yeah.
Right. And that made his campaign completely dry for like 2 weeks, and he got like flaming angry. And I was like, it wasn't something that I could say where it's like, well, you told me to turn it off, right? like,
Right.
I couldn't say that to him.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lesson learned where, like, you know, you gotta set expectations. You got to let them know that, hey, you know, it's one of those things where if you get 1 or 2 bad leads, shrug it off. Like,
yeah,
it's
100%.
Yeah.
You can't focus on those.
Yeah.
You know? And one thing a lot of people forget is, hey, if you get a lead that you just don't want to work for whatever reason,
refer them out.
Refer it to somebody else in your office.
Yeah.
Take 15% and don't touch it.
Oh my God. So many of the agents that I've had in the past, and I've fired these agents to a certain extent because they'll get leads and they'll get like strong booked appointments or live transfers, but sometimes it might be in an area that they don't want to work, and they just leave it at that. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to leave it. I don't want to touch it, but they're bad quality leads. They're not in the area that I want to work. I was like, well, you're missing out on free money. Like, or like you could have cashed in on this by referring it to another agent in that area and just letting them work it. To a certain extent, when I was first facing these issues, I was like, you know what, let me help you find another agent. And I would make phone calls to agents saying, hey, I got a referral lead for you. You interested? And I was like, it's easy as that. And I showed it to the agent. I was like, I recorded this call. It's easy as that. And sign a referral agreement with them. Once they close, you cash in. You've literally done no work on it and you still get money for it. Like, what are you fucking complaining about? You paid for them.
You know
cash in on them.
The other thing you can do with out of area leads, things like that, like as long as it's not, 3 hours away, but like a lot of agents will be like, 45 minutes, that's my limit, or an hour, that's my limit. And so you get an hour 10 and it's like, no, hour is my limit. Right. And so like, this is what you should look at. This is, if you're not going to refer it, it's an experiment. Do your listing appointment on Zoom,
Ooh, yeah.
Something a little different than you would normally do. See if it works. You're not going to take the business anyways. What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
Do your buyer's appointment on Zoom. If they sign a contract and they're buying in your area, what's it matter? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity that is often missed just because people don't want to, think a little bit outside the box.
Yeah, kind of closed-minded about it, but
Yeah.
it's stuff you got to deal with.
It happens. Yash says, how do new agents pay you that much? I think he's referring to the $1,500 to $3,000 price point and the fact that you've had new agents that started closing stuff.
Credit card.
There you go. They put in the same 16 digits or 12 digits or whatever it is.
Yep. I've actually even thought about like trying to see if I can offer or figure out how I can offer PayPal credit or something like that as well. But I haven't really dug into it too much.
It's not hard. I think we do it for the course because I think people can get in for like $166 a month or something like that, or 60. I don't remember. Something silly, but yeah, on PayPal you just sign up for credit, like so that you can offer it and then they handle it.
Yep.
So. Jacinta says, is COVID having an impact? I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and our real estate market is closed and will be for another 6 weeks. Our house prices are starting to fall. It's difficult now here. How are you handling the market or this market?
That's a difficult question just because I know in other states or in other countries, they're a little bit more strict about shutdown. I know the US is a little bit more lax depending on the state. Mm-hmm. So to a certain extent, real estate is still an essential business.
Yep.
It's just conducted differently. And so it hasn't made that huge of an impact in at least my business.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think we've signed, it's a multitude of things, right? I ramped up my sales guy. We're doing paid ads a lot more. We had an interesting, we've had an interesting, different approaches to angles on our ads and stuff like that. So yeah. I would say that we've probably signed on more clients during COVID than before, but that's just a progression, right? So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing is like if you're in Australia and you can't do any real estate marketing there, if you're an agency, try and grab some clients in another country.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Chris says he's on the replay. Chris, you're live, man. You're live. Too much whiskey on Whiskey Thursday, man. He says, tell us a bit about your time management. How do you juggle both of these? Unless y'all talked about that already. Well, we haven't really talked about that, other than the fact that I think your biggest secret is you use a team, right? But you still have to split some time between your team and your job. So
and now the freelancing project, yeah.
Yeah, and the freelancing project. So how do you manage that?
I don't watch Netflix. I don't do a lot of the traditional things that people find enjoyment in, like watching TV and going out and stuff like that. Especially, it's helped a lot, especially with COVID and shelter in place and stuff like that. But my day-to-day is mostly structured so that, I wake up Amazon first thing all the way up until I would say like 5, 6-ish, right? And then do something that helps divide between Amazon and everything else, usually either working out, dinner, eating, or whatever the case is. I'll watch the occasional YouTube video or some educational video or something like that. And then afterwards, I dive right in. I do have a daily huddle that I have with my team at noon every day during my lunch at Amazon. And usually during those huddles, I am able to surface things that I should be working on. My focus is for today. And that's what I do during that time. So as soon as I finish dinner, whatever the case is, I'll dive into those. Any focuses that I do. So for example, looking at some KPI metrics, fixing the KPI tracker, or sending out forms, or like high level stuff. And then even additional projects that I want to implement, ideas that I want to implement, those will go all the way up until like maybe 9, 10 at night or something like that. Wow. And then I'll do another context switch and work on my freelancing project up until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And then
so it's like we said before, you hate to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I love to sleep. I try not to sleep too much. Right?
Yeah. I can no sleep more than like 4 hours a day or anything like that, right?
No, I can't do 4 hours a day anymore. At least a minimum 6 hours. And so that's kind of like what I'm looking at, right?
You are getting healthy sleep, but you're cutting out all the Netflix, Hulu, cable, all
Yeah.
that fun stuff. What do you do for fun? Like,
Uh,
you know what that is?
code,
No, I'm just
code, I
kidding.
guess. Yeah, right. I've had questions about that. Yeah. So what do you do, bro? When things were open, I did indoor bouldering. That was fun.
Okay.
Kind of like active activity stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I actually find coding in projects really fun.
I thought you might say that, is that you were finding what you're doing really fun. And
Exactly. Right. That's that freelancing project. It's
yeah,
a fun project for me to do.
yeah.
It's not as technically challenging as I would say, like Amazon is, for
Mhm.
example. So it's a little bit more low key, a little bit more easier to do. It's a lot of small wins
Mhm.
within that project that helps revitalize and continue to motivate me to keep doing what I'm doing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Let's see. So Kat says Whiskey Thursdays are always insane value. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it,
Oh,
Kat.
nice.
Clearly, Bao is providing a ton of value tonight. So I hope everybody else is enjoying it as much as I am. Kat says, regarding setting up client expectations, basically just delineating the difference between warm online leads versus referrals.
That's like 5 slides, or maybe more during our launch call. So yeah, we hit on that a lot, but also like just where to put their focus
Mm-hmm.
is another setting of expectation. We set the expectation that they are going to see even with the process of qualifying the leads, they are going to still get some that aren't referral tier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Referral tier is just different leads in general. They're a different animal.
Yeah.
Online advertising is a different mindset. Like they need to come in with a different mindset when they're handling the leads,
Makes
right? We're just the purpose of our program is to make it so that in order to get your 1 or 2 golden opportunities, you don't have to go through 100, 150, 200 leads. You only need to go through 10 to 15.
Makes
That's
sense.
the premise of it, right? So
Yeah. You get somebody to scrub them for you.
mhm.
Let's see. Still using lead forms or using a survey?
Lead forms. They're the easiest ones to set up. There are initiatives in place at my company that we're looking into surveys and implementing more of the Pixel. I know that there was a gentleman, I think last week's Whiskey Thursday or the day before, or maybe not. No, it wasn't. It was actually in Gustavo's free group that he talked with someone about using surveys and getting pixel data on qualified leads. We've implemented some of those, and we also started on some of those before I had hopped on that call. But we're looking at opportunities to season our pixel a little bit more with who is qualified and who isn't. But right now, because it's so easy to systemize and rinse and repeat,
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing lead forms.
Makes sense. And clients are happy.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Set the proper expectations and clients are happy. Find a great talent like Nicole and people are renewing.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I still think that was a massive value bomb.
Yeah,
The fact that
it's a huge win. Yeah.
if you miss that, you guys go back and watch when Bao talks about that, because it was just genius. I'm not even going to talk about it right now because I want you to go back and watch it. It was so good. So what are the questions that you're using for long form in addition to the name, email, phone number, time frame?
Just timeline is one of them. Whether or not they rent or own, and that's pretty much it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Kat says no TikTok for Bao. Yeah, I'm sure.
Nope.
Yeah. That will suck up for your 4 hours,
Yeah.
your 6 hours of sleep like that.
Yep.
So Hart says, "Oh, the course can be paid via PayPal monthly." Yeah, Shane did put that in there. I probably should say that, right? We sell it. $169 per month, interest free for the academy is the PayPal program. But PayPal, there's a weird thing going on right now. You have to click the little button inside of the button. So if you have problems,
Inside of the button.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know what's going on with it. We got to get it fixed. Let's see. Chris says, you grew a team pretty fast. Did it take time to develop the leadership skills necessary to manage that many people?
Definitely. And I'm still working on that to this day. I think it's always a work in progress thing. Because it's not just leadership, it's also like managerial, right? Because you are managing people, you are leading people.
Hmm.
And I've learned so many lessons through the last couple of months that I've had my sales team. I've had my um, account managers. The VAs, not so much. The VAs, I just kind of had like a, because they're very traditional boss employee kind of like mindset. There's not a lot of leading that you need to do. It's just SOP, do this, do that, do this, do that. You're good,
Hmm.
right? It was when I brought on my sales guy. It was then when I brought on my account manager that I needed to even further develop those leadership skills, those manager skills, especially those communication skills. And it's always been like a work in progress. I mean,
Yeah.
recently I just got told that, hey, I want you to communicate with me more. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. I want this, I want that. And I was like, these are fair asks, like, and it's one of those things where you got to keep an open mind about it, right? Like there's so many times where I felt like I could get defensive, and this is just kind of like a life lesson in general. Like just pause, listen, and take that critique and see if get a feel for how much of it you want to apply, whether or not you feel it's accurate, but be objective about it. And these are like a lot of lessons that I've learned from having with my team.
Yeah.
And so now as a result, I'm having regular one-on-one meetings with members from my team, like weekly, bi-weekly one-on-one meetings with my sales guy, with my account manager. And also it's really important because um, just like with clients where you need to resell them on your product every single time you hop on that check-in call,
Hmm.
with my team, obviously they're usually sold on the product, but I need to resell them on the vision, to make sure that they are aware of, this is where I want you to be, even if you're not right now, right? And this is what we're doing to get you there. This is what we're doing to get our company to where we want it to be.
Makes sense.
So yeah, those just tons and tons of leadership skills that happen on the job. Like I don't think I've never managed a team like this ever in my life.
Mhm.
Like I mean, like I was in Boy Scouts and I was doing jobs and stuff like that, and I was like a leader in that respect. But like owning a company and leading the team to this degree, and managing a team like this and having mouths to feed, like it's a totally different mindset. It's a totally different game.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Let's see. Ricardo says, do clients ever feel misled once they get to onboarding and find out leads still need time to move to actual home purchase? They're not hot and ready right now.
No, we set that expectation during the onboarding. We also set that expectation during the demo call.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the way to do it. Yash says, what's the worst client you've ever had? Do you have a client nightmare story that really sticks out? We can name them right now. I'm just kidding. We're not naming.
Put them on blast.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
You have a nightmare that sticks out?
Yeah, they were always into the blame game,
Yeah.
right? Like, the one that really sticks out to me is this one where he micromanaged like our team.
Yeah.
He would ask for access to all these things, and we're like, no, we don't operate like that. Like, you do this, you do that. This is the way our system works. You stick to it, and it's going to work. And we were trying to be like really nice about it, right? But he got like super aggressive with it. And then, when he got fed up with it, he forced us to change a couple things, tweak a couple ads. We changed it. It went south. He blamed us. We were like, you know what? This isn't going to work out. And this was like a month-long thing where we were trying to save his campaign after he messed it up.
Yeah.
And the entire time he was just threatening us with like lawsuits and shit like that. And we were like, you know what? We're done. Like, you don't even have to worry about the cancellation fee on the contract or anything. We're just letting you go. We don't want to deal with you anymore.
So normally, do you have a lengthy contract when people sign up?
3-month agreement minimum.
3-month
Yeah.
minimum.
And then at the end of 3 months, we'll renegotiate for a contract extension.
There you go. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Did you start with a 3-month or did you start with a month-to-month? When you
I used to start with a month to month, but then it was like, it was really hard to keep people, because you had to play the game where, all right, well, you gotta keep your eye out for these leads that are really good. And, after the first month, it is one of those things where they haven't had a deal in their pocket yet. So they're like, oh, I want to leave, that kind of thing. I know that a lot of month-to-month people don't have that issue, but we had it enough earlier on that we implemented our agreement,
Okay.
and we haven't had any issues since for the agreement because most people see 3 months as reasonable, like fairly reasonable. 6 months to a year, that's a bit of a stretch. We've started experimenting with those, but it's a little bit of a stretch
Yeah.
when they haven't had the chance to experience it yet. So we thought 3 month was a very, very fair middle ground for us to offer, and so it's worked. We've had 3 month agreements go towards the end, and we've then had 6 months, 1 year extensions.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Let's see. I've got a couple of questions I wrote down. Your cost per appointment for your agency currently?
Cost for appointment per agency right now is sitting
Running
at,
ads.
for us running ads.
Yep.
Yeah, anywhere from, we're ranging at about $35 to $40 per booked intro right now.
And what are you guys converting those at?
We're converting those at, I want to say, if I remember the numbers, and I was looking at them like a couple days ago, those appointments, we're converting them at like maybe 12%.
Okay.
Because we do have no-shows, we do have a follow-up process, and we have a multi-step sales process. Those appointments are intro calls. We take them through demo calls. We don't qualify, or we don't qualify all of them to a demo call. Like some will come in and they're not qualified enough for a demo call, and then we don't make offers to all of them unless we feel like they're a good fit. So
you're acquiring your clients for a little under $350.
Yeah, I would say 350. Sometimes it ranges. Sometimes the appointment conversion drops like 3-4% on a given week. And it'll be like a 750, 1,000. We've acquired clients at like 1,200, 1,300 before.
Okay.
On some weeks, and those are just terrible weeks, but they happen.
But on a 3-month contract, you're still
Yep.
I think a lot of people are nervous to run ads because it can get expensive in the beginning. And
Yeah,
expensive.
it's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary running ads, like when you first start, but you got to start somewhere, and you can start small. It's okay to start small. Like you don't need a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 budget per month in order to be able to run ads. You can start running them at like $10, $15 per day, and just focus on lead forms. It's good to get that started, right? Like get them booked to a lead form. They'll sign up. You make the phone calls out. And qualify them. They're better than a positive response by email, in my opinion, to start out with, because they're interested to a certain extent, right? So you just gotta walk the talk, right? Like you expect your clients to do this, but if you're not willing to do it yourself, you're kind of a hypocrite.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And Ricardo has a follow-up question. He says, have you bypassed the housing special category on Facebook ads to agents for your intro calls?
Nope.
You're using special ads categories to market to agents?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I beta tested the same campaigns. One that I relentlessly went after and appealed the ad and got it through. And one that stuck with the housing ad, and the two campaigns, exact same, identical. I just literally duplicated it, chased one, got it appealed. The housing ad ones performed better, and I haven't looked back since. The only things that we'll do is do some custom lists. So like we'll perform lookalike audiences off of people who have booked an intro, or we'll get lists of agents nationwide or in a particular city, and we'll create a special lookalike audience based off of them. We'll do some basic interests. I know that for a special housing ad, you can still do interest with regards to like Zillow Premier Agent, Realtor.com Pro. Those are kind of like agent specific interests that you can do. It's just way too much of a hassle trying to get things through special housing. And based off of my experience, it hasn't been worth the effort.
Yeah. I mean, even with the program, I think we have 20 some odd that are in review right now, 20 some odd ads. It's just wild, man. It's great. I mean, they all get overturned, but you just got to spend all the time to take care of it. So
yeah.
What a pain. But anyways, we are, let's see, wow. We are an hour 50 into this already. We're coming up on the
That's
2-hour mark.
that's nuts.
What are we going to talk about? I don't know. Oh man. So you
Yeah.
guys, if you are still here, if you have any last minute questions that you want us to ask Bao while we got him on the call, go ahead, toss those in. We're going to try and get to all of them before he goes. But also, if you have made it this far and you have been watching from the beginning, hashtag Super Trooper in the comments down below. I think, are we doing Super Trooper or doing Super Trooper season 2? I forget. Shane, are you here? You make the hashtag, Shane. Everybody do what Shane does if he's here. He's probably, like we said, if you're wondering where Shane is, by the way, Shane has just had a baby. So he is, I
Got a
think,
new
in
baby.
the hospital there, spending the night with the baby and doing that. So congratulations to Shane. We missed you tonight, but we wish you the best and hope for good health and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I have one more question, and then we'll see if anybody else has any other questions, and we'll wrap it up. But do you have any advice for people that are trying to do this as a side hustle? Because I think it's something we see all the time coming into the academy. I have a full-time job. I want to get out of it, right? So for somebody who's trying to do this as a side hustle, what's your advice?
My advice would definitely be to set aside some funds from your full-time gig to put into your business. And then I would start with the VAs because they're the most cost-effective ways to start generating prospects for you to follow up on and to call. That would be a great starting point, right? It's worth the investment. It's also a skill building exercise. It helps build out it starts your leadership team, right? It starts your management mindset. It's what's going to get you from solo agency owner, glorified freelancer to legitimate business owner. And I think that's probably one of the biggest key takeaways that I could provide. Is that's how you should start, and that's how I started, and that's how I feel like most people should start if they do work if this is a side hustle and they work a full-time gig, because it doesn't cost that much for a VA. I have one VA who I'm paying literally maybe $150, $180 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like $300-$400 a month to keep them employed. I mean, there's other expenses that you gotta do with like building lists, scraping lists, and stuff like that. But I mean, that's operational costs as well. So, but it's necessary, and the return on those VAs are going to be drastic. They're going to be huge because you also gain a very, very loyal employee because they're just grateful for the opportunity. I know that both my VAs, they're based out in the Philippines, so the COVID situation over there is absolutely terrifying. And they're just incredibly thankful to have something that they can do while the rest of their country is shut down.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And you know what? As everybody's congratulating Shane, I was just thinking, Shane was right here. He'd be telling me, don't forget about the academy. Don't forget about the academy. So, Bao, you are somebody who has jumped into the academy. You jumped in at beta, man.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Has it helped? How has it helped? And what would you say for anybody who's on the fence or thinking about it?
It's 100% helped. Like, it's literally the cornerstone of how my business took off, in a sense, because I was like headless chicken running everywhere, trying to fulfill for every single niche possible. It was the beta, the academy that helped narrow my focus, provide me the resources that I felt confident that I could provide the resources and the services for my clients at a very high caliber, right? And then there's just always constant value adds with like the coaching calls that we had, and then the just resources inside that all like my agents are absolutely ecstatic with, right? Like I built out a funnel a couple weeks ago for one of my agents to do a beta seller campaign. And she was like absolutely ecstatic about the seller ebook that we had. There's just such a wealth of resources in there. Highly recommend, like without a doubt. Like if you're sitting on it, like get off your ass and pay the money. it's going to be the best investment. Like I've done numerous coaching programs. Like as I've said before, there's definitely a lot that compete with like the value, the over delivering, and you know, I would say that the academy is among definitely the top three, if not the top. Like it's just super valuable.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it, man. It's
And they're
awesome.
still over delivering too. It's like, you know, like you paid once or you continue to pay, but then like you guys are continually adding stuff.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money that I invested into the program, I'm still making returns on it to this day. And it's just a testament to you and Shane and the amount of commitment that you guys have on making the best real estate marketing and advertising course product and coaching program that you guys have out there.
Yeah. Well, we
So,
definitely, I mean, we've worked hard at it. So we're glad that it's helped you. And we
for
love to
real.
hear from, you know, you and the fact that you have clients that are working in the white label thing and it's helping them. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool. So a lot of people saying congrats, Shane. Let's see. A couple more questions. Where to go? What's the scariest step you take to take your agency to the next level?
Drop a crap ton on advertising.
Sounds fair. That's
Yeah.
a simple answer. And it's so true. It can be
Yeah.
terrifying, man.
It's terrifying because you don't know if your closer is going to be able to close and capitalize on that. In which case, you're thousands in the hole, right? So that's probably the scariest part, I would say.
Yep. Let's see. Kat says, would you recommend a lead magnet to a landing page, calendar, or a lead form for an agency just starting paid ads? What's the quickest way to get some stuff on your calendar?
I would say that instead of just trying to get stuff on the calendar, just try to get leads info to start with paid ads. Like it's just kind of like that breaking ground experience of running paid ads through lead forms.
Yep.
And providing an offer, even if you say it's like, oh, I guarantee 50 leads per month, I guarantee 100 leads per month, I guarantee 10 live transfers per month, or whatever the case is, right? Put out an offer, get agents sign up on it, get the experience making calls, and then you can, you know, especially once you start building your list and you're able to differentiate between the good ones and the bad ones. You can also upload those and build like lookalike audiences off of those and get even better results, right? So, lead forms for sure. And then afterwards, you can definitely include, you know, a booking link in the thank you page. You can start getting a little bit more sophisticated with conversion funnels. In which case you can provide ebooks. And there's one that's provided in the academy, like a lead magnet. It's a fantastic lead magnet that you can use. We used it. And you can also then come up with different ways to you know, bring in and magnetize leads. For me now, I just do a straight forward offer. You know, I advertise for X amount of live transfers per month. And we're looking for ways to improve on that because we're noticing that a lot more agencies are catching on and they're, you know, modeling off of that offer too. So it's important to innovate.
Love it. Love it. Well, it has been great. If you guys are watching live, again, hashtag live, hashtag Super Trooper. If you watch the whole thing, if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. If you're watching from YouTube, come join the Facebook group where we are live here every single Thursday at 8 p.m. I shouldn't say every single. There's going to be like 1 in 2 weeks. Somebody's going to come here and we're not going to be live and be like, sorry, I lied. But no, I'm just kidding. Actually,
bring out the flames, pitchforks, torches. Matt
right?
said every week.
So next week, be here Thursday, September 17th, 8 p.m. We have Ravi Abu
Abubala.
Yeah. So Ravi's going to be here. You're not going to want to miss that one. Again, Bout, thank you so much for being here, for providing so much value. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, and hopefully they'll take action and go out and crush it just like you did. With that, stick around. I'm going to end it here, and we'll chat for a second before you go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
All right. And